Good day, people. Good Wednesday. We made it to Wednesday, back at it again. These days go by so fast. I want to talk to you guys about how, isn't it unfortunate how it's always the man's fault? If a man isn't desired, if a man isn't chosen, if a man has been ridiculed and just treated bad, isn't it funny that it's always the man's fault? Why is it this way? Why is it always the man's fault? How come it's never women's fault? It's like responsibility just always falls on the man. And this is sad. And this is something that I could just never understand. Why is it always the man's fault? I mean, you got dudes out here, shower every day, wear nice Tom Ford cologne, go to work, even if they work a crummy job. They do what they have to do to try to make ends meet, and they're just not being chosen. And you got dudes who've made a conscious effort in pursuing women. You got dudes who've been on dates and stuff, even though a date doesn't mean anything, because you got men out there that don't even take women out on dates and they still smash. It's just unfortunate. Like, these women's standards are just too daggone high. I don't buy that it's always the man's fault. And you got some people, they tell men, you got to lower your standards. They think that some dudes are aiming too high when it comes to the world of dating and relationships. You got some dudes, they ain't even the little dates that they've been on. You got some guys, they haven't necessarily been on dates with no dime piece type of women, but they still can't get anything. I think about the little lousy dates I've been on. I wasn't on no dates with no dime pieces, but it just go to show you the standards of these women. These women's standards are just too high. And I don't feel that it's always a man's fault. If a man is not being chosen, if a man is being treated bad out here, you can't say that it's the man's fault. People are always so quick to give women a pass. They always give women a pass. And they always want to scrutinize the man. Stop saying that it's always the man's fault if things don't work out. If a marriage doesn't work out, it's the man's fault. Maybe it's the woman's fault, because men never file for divorce. They just go to show you, men never file for divorce. It's always the woman who files for divorce. So you can't say that it's always the man's fault. It's time out for just blaming men all the time. We live in a society that loves to blame men. It's the man, it's the man, it's the man. It's always the man. It's never the woman. That's getting old. It's really getting old. And you got women out here, they make it easy for dudes that they like. So you can't say that it's the man's fault to why he's not being chosen. Oh, he just don't have good enough game. Oh, he just don't dress good enough. And then I've heard people say foolishness like being unattractive is a choice. Who would want to be a man who's not being chosen? That's like saying people want to be in a bad position. No one decides to be in a bad position, but some people are in a bad position. What man would want to be in a position to where he's not being chosen? No man wants that. So, some men, they just not want it. And I don't like how people try to make it seem like it's the man's fault if he's not being chosen out here. Oh, if the man is not being chosen, if he's not being selected, that is his fault. He just don't have no game. He don't have any swag. That has to stop. It's time out for giving women a pass all the time. It's time out for that. Women are just getting with the guys that they like. So stop saying that it's always the man's fault. And nobody in their right mind would choose to be in a bad position. Who would choose to be in a bad position? That's like if you got a mansion, if someone tell you you could either live in a mansion or you could sleep under a bridge, which one would you choose? I'm sure most people with common sense would choose to live in the mansion. No one would choose to live up under a bridge. So people need to stop blaming people for being in a bad position. Maybe, perhaps the women just don't find these men to be attractive. That's why they're not being chosen. And as a man, you may not even think you a hideous looking dude. You may not feel that you all of that, but you may not even feel that you know hideous looking dude. But the women ain't going for it. The women are not selecting. And one thing I had to understand is that a man doesn't choose a woman. A man doesn't choose a woman. I believe I heard He Didn't Succeed say this years ago. A man does not choose a woman. A woman chooses the man. So with that being said, you can't always hold men's feet to the fire. You can't always say that it's the man's fault. A lot of these women, they just going for the guys that they like. And, they never tell women to change themselves, but they tell men to change themselves. As a man, you got to change this. You have to change that. It's just time out for this. And I always felt that a lot of this stuff starts as a teenager. I always felt that, if you were seen as an outcast in your adolescent days, then that's the way it's going to be for the rest of your life. Nothing is going to change. Nothing is going to turn around for you. If you were seen as a reject in middle school, high school, that's going to carry over into your adult life. That's usually how it plays out. That's what I had to realize. I mean, you got dudes out here doing the best they can do, but they just not being chosen. And with the rise of social media, it's becoming even more hard nowadays. With this social media, people just need to stop saying that it's the man's fault and telling guys that, being unattractive is a choice. No, that's not true. Some people just not being selected out here, and within the urban sector, one thing I always knew that, you'll be more accepted as a brother if you come from the hood versus if you come from the suburbs. A brother that's from the hood, a brother who served time in prison, that's the standard of what a brother should be. That kind of brother will always be more accepted than a brother that grew up in the suburbs. It's sad that it's that way, but that's how it is. And I'm sure a lot of people can agree with that. That's just the way the culture is, and it's not going to change. I heard a 62-year-old man even say that rap music was the worst thing that ever happened to the urban community. A 62-year-old brother, he remembered how, it was before rap music came about. And I agree. Hip-hop has really done something to the culture. It really has brainwashed the culture. And that plays a big role too. And I'm not saying that you have to be from the hood, but as a brother, you'll be more respected and more accepted if you come from the hood versus if you come from the suburbs. So that's another strike against you. People just need to stop always trying to blame the man. If a man doesn't have love in his life, if a man hasn't found that special someone, people say, oh, it's his fault. Oh, he ain't trying hard enough. Well, you got some guys that never had to try. The woman just throw it at them. You got certain dudes, women just throw the punani at them. They don't have to work for it. They don't have to try. It just comes their way because women like them. They were desired from day one. And I just know for a fact that if you never been desired, there's nothing you can do to turn it around. It's just nothing you can do. If you was never a select man, a dude that chicks was checking for, it'll never be that way for you. It just won't. And, you know, you are what you are. You can't become what you never were. But that's been today's discussion. It's time out for people saying that it's always the man's fault. That's getting old, especially here in 2024. But you guys have a great day.